We got a couple stragglers still hopping on here for this morning. Those that I have not met yet, just introduce myself. My name is Andrew Evans. I'm the divisional coordinator for the Florida Coast Division. And we want to welcome you to our Saturday morning key staff meeting. What's great to see here as I kick things off is, like I said, a lot of familiar faces. And, when I say that too, that's a good thing. That means you're getting on the radar because I've been running training calls with hundreds of people on Zoom for the past several weeks now. And so, if I'm beginning to know some people, some of y'all I haven't had conversations with, and some of y'all I've been getting the hot updates, hearing and having some back and forth with you all too. So it's exciting to see too, some of you all, this is not your first time on this call. Been on this call for 2 or 3 weeks now. And, you finished your fast start, you're going into it. And I think it's one thing to be taking advantage. You're rocking the Celsius, Tiana. I'm drinking those almost every day right now. Sorry, I just had to call you out. Anyways, it is good to see, like I said, people that are taking the initiative week after week. I think about someone like Spencer Trujillo. He just finished his fast start, over $10,000, and is now taking again the next Saturday. Right, because one of our core tenets that I mentioned last Wednesday on the call was the third one is ACE Weekly. Right, it's being consistent. It is. I talked to our team meeting on a Wednesday night and said, hey, if you want to have a kick-ass summer here with us at Cutco, there's a couple things that you need to be a team builder. You need to step up for the pushes and really step up when it matters. All the best athletes, all the best performers. It's not like they perform all the time 24/7, but they always perform when it matters. They always rise to the occasion. And that first push is coming up here on SE1. And these meetings, the reason that I hop on them, because I don't really need to hop on these. I mean, there's plenty of talented leaders here. Eddie could have ran this call. Mike could have ran this call. But I like to hop on here and just get a chance because I usually get to connect with a couple people after the call. It allows me to identify, hey, who are our future leaders? Who are the people that I know are not just going to talk the talk, but walk the walk and actually step up, when it matters, step up for the pushes. And outside of that, it's all about being consistent, just being consistent with your results week to week to week. And I want to applaud you guys for being here this morning because, like I said, even an example of someone that just finished their fast start, a week or two ago, but they're taking the initiatives and still finding ways to impact their weekends and impact their Saturday mornings here too. So thank you all for being the ones to take the initiative here this morning. And I also want to tell you that, as you guys do that, we make the job really easy. We make the job really simple. We don't require people to be at a lot of meetings because we want to make it flexible for every individual or as many people as we can. But the reality is that the people that take the advantage of the extra meetings, the champions clubs, the workshops, the coaching, and I'm preaching to the choir as I do this because you all are the ones that are actually, we got someone that's not mute here. Eddie, let me put you on mute here. One second. Cool. You all are the ones that are actually taking advantage of it here too. So I'm excited to kick things off here in the morning. Guys, pretty soon in most of your offices, we're going to have what is called a key staff program. And our key staff, even though we're having these calls, is an actual promotion. It is an actual position that you can be promoted to. And right now we're kind of keeping it open because most of your offices haven't really formed their key staff program for the summer or haven't started taking people onto it. But that's going to change soon. This call is eventually going to be a divisional call for only our key staff members, right? When the SE1 push starts, we're going to have divisional calls for everyone on the SE1 10K push alliance. And so I think as the summer continues, these calls will get a little bit more exclusive. Eventually, you'll probably have too big of a key staff, and it will just be the key staffs for your respective offices. But I think about if you want to advance into a position of leadership, if you want to improve your resume, if you want to, I know a lot of you all have voiced, the desire to become an AMI for the summer, right? Or even maybe an assistant manager this summer. If you want to do that, I think the first step in really doing anything is you've got to be a team builder. You've got to be someone that steps up for the pushes. You've got to be consistent. But the first step is getting promoted to be part of the key staff. That's the first, I don't want to say with 100% without a doubt, but, our key staff is usually the first in line for TLA interviews at the end of the summer. They're the people that have already taken the initiative. And our standards across the division, you might have extra standards in your specific office, but you just got to be at least 3K in sales, right? You got to have a positive attitude. and you got to be consistent, and by the way, some of y'all are blew through 3K in sales, for your first week or two, but there's a reason we don't ever promote anyone to key staff in the first week, is because that consistency element. I know anyone can do anything one time, but can you be someone that does it time and time again? And Mike's going to be coaching you guys and talking to you all a little bit today on how to make 10 grand in the summertime. How do you make 5 figures or more, during the summertime? And just the reality is, guys, that as you're actually going into that, and the individuals that want to make that, is you've got to be consistent. You can't just have one big week in order to do that. And there's a lot of people that are going to work this job, and a lot of people are going to make great money, but only so many in every single office. It'll probably be, I don't know, maybe 20 people in my office this summer, 25 people that make, 10 grand or more. And there's a lot of people that are going to want to say they're going to want to make 10 grand or more. But that you all hopping on these calls, the ones that are actually going to take the time and find a way to get it done here. So I will turn things over to our fearless leader, district manager in the Tampa area, Tampa Bay, Mike Abramowitz. For those of you guys have not met Mike yet, and I'm pretty sure most of y'all had, because I think most of y'all ran training with him in some capacity here, unless you just trained this past weekend. But Mike runs our Tampa organization. He's one of the most prolific district managers that is operating today, and probably one of the most prolific district managers in the history of Cutco. Mike's personally not, and one of the best things about Mike's skill set is not only the fact that he has been a great manager, but he's been a great sales rep too as well. He's done your job at a high level, and every single manager has, but Mike's done it to a different degree. He's one of the top 500, I think, right, Mike? Top 500 people in all of Cutco, period, sales reps. And it wasn't like he's a CSP. He just has had a lot of experience throughout his college years and even beyond, selling the Cutco product in the same way, not through fairs and shows, not through doing our realtor closing program, doing it the exact same way that you sell it to customers. And, so if there's anyone that knows how to make 10 grand or more during the summertime, it's going to be this guy. So I'll turn things over to Mike. Make sure you take a lot of notes afterwards. We're going to hang out and have a phone jam right afterwards here. And one of the perks of being on the calls is usually I'll pick 1 or 2 people and just do a kind of PC or map out some goals for you all before we get started here today. So look forward to that phone jam, and I'll let things turn over to Mike.
Cool. I appreciate that. And for attendance purposes, if you haven't done so yet, can you put the office name in front of your name? That'd be awesome. I appreciate that. And then Andrew, if you wouldn't mind, or Eddie, just taking a photo just so I have attendance, that'd be great. So topic today, I'm really excited for this topic. We're going to talk a little bit about making 10 grand this summer, and we'll talk a little bit about time management, a schedule for success, and really treating your business like a business, along with some phone skills. And some of this is going to be some simple reminders, but there's a lot of elegance and simplicity. So I want to start off with some math. All right. I know it's like early morning math session. What the hell, Mike? What are you thinking? So I want to start off with some math. So I'm going to share my screen here, and let's do some math. If you're brand new, if you're at $0 in sales, you got to sell right at $32,000 for the summer. And that means you make $10,000. Okay. So if you're brand new, I'm going to use this as a number for what I'm going to show you. Okay. 32,000, just because if you're not brand new, like if you're Kat, and Kat is already at like 40 or 45%, whatever she's at, well, great. Then you just make more. So you just make more than the 10 grand. So, and I'm sure Kat's already probably done this, but this will be a healthy reminder. So if you break it down between now and the time school starts up, let's say you have till the 3rd week of August. So this is how I would encourage you to break it down. Today, right now, this week is considered May week 2. Okay. So, or this is, this is May week 3 actually that we're in right now. So we have May week 3, you got May week 4, and there's a May week 5. Okay, so you got 3 weeks technically left in May. And this week right here is week 1 of SC1 push. Then you have June week 1, which is week 2 of SC1 push. And Andrew, you could correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. Then you got June week 2, June week 3, June week 4, and then we have July week 1, July week 2, July week 3, July week 4. Now, July week 3 and 4, this is SC2 push. This one here is SC2 push. Then August week 1 is SC2 push. And again, if, Andrew, if I'm mistaken, it's 2, 3, and 4, or 3, 4, and 1 this year's summer. But if you just want to cross check for me, or Eddie. All right. So this is where we're at right now. And there's 2 main pushes during the summer right here. There's SC1, SC2. What that stands for is Summer Conference 1 and Summer Conference 2. And these are a push. If you want to think about a push is an opportunity for you to just do a little bit more than you're normally doing. Okay, just a little bit more than you're normally doing. So if you're on here, you might want to have an expectation that during SC1, like during the weeks before the SC1 push, are momentum weeks for you to elevate during SC1 push. Then these weeks before SC2 push, I think it might start July week 2, but these weeks before SC2 push are momentum weeks for the push. So you want to think of your schedule and your flow for the summer as everything revolves around the playoffs and the Super Bowl. The playoffs and the Super Bowl. So you're setting up your weeks in a way that allows you to build momentum and then execute at a high level, and then build momentum and then execute at a high level. So these push weeks are a little bit more than your consistent weeks. So that means you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 weeks of non-push. 9 weeks non-push. Then there's 5 weeks of push. Now you might have on the non-push weeks, you might have like a family vacation. You might have, obligate, whatever it might be. But during the pushes, that's like, imagine if you're the quarterback of, you're Tom Brady, and this is the playoffs and this is the Super Bowl. He says, hey guys, I know it's the Super Bowl, but I actually have a vacation with the family at the beach house. So you guys got it from here. Don't worry. Don't worry about me. I can't make it, but you got it, right? Like that. If you're on this group right now, that's what it would be like. Tom Brady saying, oh, I can't make it to the playoffs because we're going on a family vacation. So you definitely don't go on family vacations during the playoffs or during the Super Bowl, right? So you map out your summer schedule with that in mind. So if I have 9 weeks of non-push, 5 weeks of push. So if I want to think, okay, how much am I doing during a non-push week? Like, what's a normal week for you? I don't know the answer to that. But let's say if a normal week for you is 10 appointments. If a normal week for you is 10 appointments, then a push week is a little bit more, right? So if a non-push week for you, part-time job, 10 appointments, it should be 10 appointments, right? You don't have to do 25 every week unless you want to, but I think a non-push week, 10 appointments. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna say non-push, 10 appointments, and let's say a push would be like maybe 15 or 16. Let's go 16 appointments for push week. A little bit more, but we'll even go 15. It's just like 50% increase. Let's say 50% increase. So that means if your non-push weeks are 10 appointments, that gives you 9 weeks. That's 90 appointments during non-pushes. This is 5 weeks, which gives you 75 appointments during push weeks. So it gives you a grand total of 165 summer appointments. If you put Cutco in front of 165 people this summer, I mean, just based on averages, you don't even probably need to do the math, but if you put Cutco in front of 165 people this summer, if you have a 70% closing, okay? 70% buy, that's 115 sales. If your average order is, let's say 350, so 350 average, that equals $40,000 sold, which is over the 32,000. Some of you might have a 80% closing. Some of you might have a 90% closing during the summer. Some of you might have $500 average order. But if you play the numbers, you will sell well over that 32,000 mark, which means you will make well over 10 grand. So what's the point? The point is, if you focus on your non-push weeks to be consistent, and then you level up a little bit more during the push weeks, you're going to position yourself to make 5 figures for the summer. That's the game. So if you're gamifying your business, this is the game. So how do you get 10 appointments a week, number one? And how do you position yourself to level up to 15 appointments a week during pushes? Well, you're going to need people to call, right? Let's call it what it is. How many people do you need? I don't know the answer, but I know it's got to be more than 165. So I don't know exactly how many you need, but if you need to do 165 appointments this summer, you need at least 165 people to call. All right, so I want to start there. If you do the math, again, okay, do the math. If you do the math, 40,000, you'll make, say, 15 grand, 12, 13 grand, somewhere along those lines. If you're going to make, let's do some math here, $12,000 divided by 165 appointments. $12,000 divided by 165 appointments, that equals $72 per appointment. If you told your friends you have a job where you get paid an average of $72 an appointment, I mean, break that down. Like, how many calls does it take to book up an appointment? Like, even if it took you 20 phone calls to book up an appointment, like, you had to get rejected 19 times just to get a completed appointment. Now that's crazy. So I'm not going to do 20. Let's say it takes you 10 calls to book up one appointment. 10 calls to book up one appointment. That is $7.20 per call times 10 calls to book up one appointment. $7.20 per call if it takes you 10 calls to book up one appointment. So if you told your friend you had a job where you just sit there and dial, every time you make a phone call, you make $7.20. $7.20 a phone call. How fast would you dial? Would you look at a name? Would you look at a name on a sheet of paper and say, nah, that person, we have a history. I have a history with that person. I don't know. That one's weird. I mean, would you question on calling people if you were literally had just money just coming in, $7.20 a phone call? What would you think? You would just think dial. You would just think, of course, right? So when it comes to like who you call, I don't care. Like it doesn't matter because the numbers will play out. Even if it's 20 calls, we'll divide $7 in half. Now you're talking, okay, $3.60 a phone call. So if I'm talking to you, you, Chloe, I'm talking to you. You, Irvin, I'm talking to you, right? Summer, I'm talking to you. $3.60 a phone call. If it take you 20 calls to book up one appointment, how many calls would you make? You literally wouldn't stop. You wouldn't stop. So what does that mean? If you're doing 10 appointments a week, you must make a commitment to yourself to make no less than how many phone calls? At minimum, 100 calls a week. At minimum. At minimum. There never goes a week with less than 100 phone calls. Now, if it takes you more, great. Play the game. Play the game. It's just mapping out numbers. Take the emotion out of it. And that's why I love Q. I love Q because it actually gives you your total. It tells you what are your averages. How many calls does it take for you to book up an appointment? How many calls does it take for you to book up an appointment? Right? And if you didn't know that Q does that for you, it's a pretty awesome feature. How many calls does it take to book up an appointment? Do any of you actually know that number by just out of curiosity? Do any of you know what that number is of how many calls it takes for you to book up an appointment? Let me pick on someone. I'm going to pick on Jason because I like you. Let's see. I'm going to find Jason. And let's see. Hopefully it's not bad, Jason. I'm just kidding. Ready? Watch. You could pull up Q, and it takes it takes Jason 1.2 calls to book up a demo. 1.2 to book up one appointment. I use the number 10. All right, so that's bias. I don't like that one. That's too crazy. Let's go to Eric Garcia. You've been here a little longer. Eric Garcia, 3.8 calls to book up a demo. I said it took 10. 3.8. All right, I don't like that one either. That's still a little crazy. That's still like, no way. That can't be real. Alexis Gauss, 3.5 calls to book up an appointment. And I'm using 10. So even if it took 10 to book up an appointment, right? So we want to set up ourselves to win. So here's two things you're going to need. Number one, leaving this workshop, you're going to need, number one, as many names and numbers as you can. So I'm going to hook you up with a couple of ideas there. And number two, you're going to need a schedule for success. So you know exactly when you're doing what. So that way you position yourself to win. So non-push weeks, you make 100 phone calls. Push weeks, you're making closer to 150 or 200 calls. And you just play the game of making phone calls. So I'm going to give you a schedule for success. And then I'm going to give you some ideas of how you can get phone numbers and organize yourself to book up as many appointments as possible. Now, if you need help with sales, watch my workshop from a couple of weeks ago. If you need help with recommendations, watch my workshop from last week. This is a different workshop. This is going to help you with getting your business in order and thinking like a business owner. All right, so here we go. As far as the schedule for success, very simple. Here's what I would suggest. I'll give you a schedule for success. I'll give you some tips on how to get your phone numbers ready and organized. And then I'll even give you some tips on booking up the appointments. Now, I would recommend a planner. So I couldn't imagine living without my planner, like an actual like physical planner. But the next best thing is a schedule, something like this, okay? I would recommend every single morning, you start your day with 5 phone calls and feeding your mind. Feed your mind and make 5 phone calls every day, 7 days a week. Why? Because because people are creatures of habit. So if you do 5 calls a day, every day a week, that's 35 calls baked in the cake. 35 calls baked in the cake every day. Consistency is key. You also feed your mind. Daily workshop. Do yourself a favor. There is a playlist on our Game Changer playlist. It's if you go to YouTube, Bay Area Game Changers. Bay Area Game Changers, you could click. There's hundreds of videos. If you click on rep scenarios, most of them are under 10 minutes. Some of them are as little as 3 to 4 minutes, but 3 to 4 minutes of feeding your mind and 5 phone calls every day. Every day. Now, if you want to hop on Zoom, we have a workshop every morning at 9 a.m. I'm not mandating you to even do it live with someone else. I'm just saying, I don't care what time you do it, but to start your day, 5 calls and feed your mind. That's 35 calls out of the 100 already. 35 calls already. Then I would do 50 phone calls every single Wednesday. Come hell or high water. 50 phone calls every Wednesday. And I would do 25 calls every Sunday. 25 calls Sunday, 50 calls Wednesday, and I would do 5 calls daily. Now that will get you right around that 100 mark. 5 calls to start the day, 50 calls every Wednesday, 25 calls every Sunday. That will get you over 100 calls every week. Now you might say, well, Mike, what if I already hit my goal of my 10 appointments? Good. It's not about the goal of the 10 appointments. It's about consistency. Because remember, it's 10 appointments every week. So you just book up more appointments for the next few weeks because it's not 10. Your goal is no longer 10. What is your goal? 165. Your goal is 165 for the whole summer because you're playing a game. It's a season. Think about it if it's like a season, not like 1 week at a time. It's a season, not 1 week at a time. So you're playing the season. The season is 165 games, if you will, right? You got the playoffs in June. You got the Super Bowl in July. So break it up in that mind so you're not so focused on that one no sale or that one ultimate set. Because you're going to have big orders, you're going to have small orders, you're going to have everything in between. You're going to have no sales, you're going to have good appointments, disappointments. None of that shit matters. What matters is you're going to have, if you do based on the math I just gave you, ladies and gentlemen, how many no sales are about you're about to have? You're about to have 50 no sales the rest of the summer. Brace yourself. Can you emotionally handle 50 rejections this summer? And if you can't, can you equip yourself to emotionally handle 50 people saying no? Not only that, can you emotionally handle 1,600 and 500 phone calls? That means if you do the math, 1,650 phone calls, and if you're only getting 165 appointments, well, 1,650 phone calls minus 165, that means you're about to have 1,485 people not answer the phone. Are you emotionally equipped to have 1,485 people not pick up your phone call? But you're still making money. You're still making, because the numbers play out. The numbers play out. So think like a business owner. Think like a business owner. So just to recap what we just talked about. What did we talk about? We went through, we said, this is how much money, how much you got to sell to make this if you're brand new. This is the rest of your summer. These are your playoffs. This is your Super Bowl. You got 9 weeks of non-push, 5 weeks of push. 10 appointments a week is non-push, 15 appointments a week is push. That gives you this amount for the summer. With a 70% close and a $350 average, you will sell 40 grand this summer, which means you'll make $12,000, which is $72 an appointment. If it takes you 10 calls to book up an appointment, you're making $7.20 a call. How do you position yourself to make? We said how many calls a week? We said 100 calls per week, minimum. How do you position yourself to make 100 calls a week a minimum? What do we say? We broke it down to say 5 calls to begin the day, 50 calls Wednesday, 25 calls Sunday. That is your game. That is how you win. That is your focus. Now you have a map. Let me come up for some air before I give you some phone tips and how to actually get the phone numbers. Let me unmute everyone, or I'll give you an opportunity to unmute yourself. I'm going to unmute all. Hopefully this isn't a disaster. Okay. If you're in a loud place, you can keep yourself muted. What showed up for you? What's something you just heard that you're like, that was a light bulb moment. That clicked for me. And then I'm going to transition into getting phone numbers. I'm going to transition into some phone skills.
I liked how you had mentioned how like the push weeks are like Super Bowl weeks, like don't take off vacation for those weeks. So those weeks are like where you really need to like do your job, And I also liked how you did like the breakdown of the phone calls. It was like 50 on Wednesday, 25 on Sunday, and like the rest of the week you have 5 phone calls a day. So that was pretty cool.
Good. Appreciate it, Cecilia. Rochelle, go for it.
I love that you just mapped it all out for us because literally I've sat down and tried to do that by myself and it just ends up taking so much time. So it's a lot easier if I set it as my background on my computer. So I was like, this is my focus for the rest of summer. This way I see it like a sticky note. I'm going to focus on it every day I wake up.
Excellent. Eric, I see proper Zoom etiquette with the virtual blue hand. Thank you, sir. And then we'll go to Chris.
When you said you have to be emotionless of your results and think of it like a season, not week by week, because like then you get hung up on that one no sale or that one ultimate set. That hit hard.
Yeah, 1,485 no pickups. Are you emotionally prepared for that? But you're going to make a shit ton of money because of it. I love that. That's great. Chris, go for it.
Yeah, I would say something similar about like putting in perspective of it being a season rather than week by week, because this is something where you can't be really going through the motions. You're not really going to be reaching these high numbers. You're not going to be reaching success by going through the motions, and it's important to have long-term goals to really keep you going. I think that really put it in perspective for me.
Excellent. Great. Feels good. Feels good to inspire young people to start my Saturday. I love this. This brings me energy. Let's go ahead and continue. We got the last couple of minutes here. I want to give you some tips on getting the phone numbers to fuel your business for the summer. And I want to give you some tips on actually making those phone calls and sitting down properly. So that way, when you make your calls, you're positioned for success. Okay. So let's dive back in. As far as and we'll mute everyone again just to be safe. Okay. So as far as whoops, you already spotlighted me. Thanks. All right. So as far as how to get phone numbers, now this is a concept that is you've probably heard this before. It's nothing new, but maybe it lands differently right now. If now you need 165 appointments, okay, we're talking 165 appointments, but you also know you're looking at a lot of phone calls to fuel that. You might only need like 300 numbers, and you call the same damn 300 people the whole summer. But the ability for resources it's never a lack of resources. It's always resourcefulness. And if you don't believe that to be the truth, I'll give you a couple of examples, but I would write that down. If you're going to save something as your screensaver, like Rochelle said, I would save that. It has nothing to do with resources. It's all resourcefulness. It's all resourcefulness. And when I say resourcefulness, I'm not just talking about contacts. I'm talking about the resourcefulness that you have inside of you. Like, do you have a willingness to set the ego aside and ask for favors? Your age group is so not the whole age group, but the overachievers of your age group like to be like, no, I need to do this. Like, I need to show the world that I am capable and independent, and I don't need to ask anyone for anything because I'm going to make my parents proud by doing it on my own. That's great. That's great. To an extent, because the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people that want to help you out. In fact, they get a kick by helping you out. You ever hold the door for a stranger and then you hold the door for them, they thank you, and then they say, thank you so much, you're such a sweetheart. And you're like, oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you for thanking me. Thank you for thanking me. That's weird. We are wired. We have a chemical in our brain called oxytocin where we are wired to feel good for doing favors for other people. There's studies that show this. When you do a random act of kindness, it brings you more energy. Science. A random act of kindness gives you more energy. So by you reaching out to people and just asking for favors, granted, there's a risk of rejection, but you have to ask yourself this question: risk versus reward. Risk versus reward. Which one weighs more? The risk. What's the risk? I ask people for favors. What's the risk? Well, the risk is, oh, well, Mike, they say no. Well, is that really that risky? You're gonna hear no anyway. What's the risk? The risk is really the time that it takes for you to ask them for the favor. That's the risk. The risk is a waste of your time. A waste of your time, because the emotions, you're going to have to deal with those emotions anyway. You got to get over that. We already talked about that. So what's the risk? It's not the emotions. The risk is the time that it takes for you to actually just ask them. But then what's the reward? The reward is everything we just mapped out for you. Risk, losing time, emotional drain, which you have to overcome anyway. Reward, you get the phone numbers. Reward, you get the appointments. Rewards, you get raving fans. What if you knew for every 10 friends you ask for their mom's number, you got rejected 9 times but got 1 phone number? So you ask 100 of your friends for their mom's numbers. You went to your high school yearbook and you just went through social media and just found every single one of those kids on social media and sent them a message. Or if they wrote in your yearbook, I don't know if they do that anymore, keep in touch, and like you actually reached out to them and you kept in touch. And during the keep in touch, you ask them for a favor, which is their mom's phone number. And you asked 100 kids for their number, and 90 of them either cursed you off, ignored you, or yelled at you, but 10 gave you a phone number. What's the risk? The risk is just it took some time. The reward is I got 10 new phone numbers. And those 10 new phone numbers, now I only need 155 more because those are the easiest appointments you can get. Because when you call those moms, those are like a 10 out of 10 ratio. Like you call a mom of a friend, the chance of them not booking up the appointment with you if you follow the scripts the right way is so slim, especially with some of the things I'm going to teach you in a moment. So asking those people, here's one for you. I'm looking at you. Yeah, you, Summer. Looking at you, all right? If you sat down with the women in your life that you say I love you to, go ahead, make a list. Make a list of the women that you have in your life that you say I love you to. Mom, grandma, auntie, godmom. Go ahead, write them down. If you're looking at me, you're doing it wrong. Go ahead, write it down. Who are the women in your life that you say I love you to? Go ahead, make the list. Who are the women in your life you've said I love you to? Who are the women in your life that you should say I love you to? Do you have a best friend's mom? You have a boyfriend or girlfriend's mom? Aunt, godmom, grandma, mom? Who are all the women you have in your life that you say I love you to or have said I love you to? And if you took that person out for a cup of coffee, or you just hopped on Zoom and just called up for a couple of minutes and said, hey, godmom, I'm going to be vulnerable here for a second. I wanted to ask you for a favor for a long time. And I know I asked you this favor once before, but I don't think it landed just because I was in a different place than I am right now. I'm committed for the summer season for my company. You know, obviously I'm selling Cutco and all that, but I'm really committed for my summer season. And I just learned a lot of new skills. I learned a really great plan and a map, and I need some help. And I wanted to see if it'd be okay if you and I sat down and you helped me. Sure. Well, what is it, sweetie? Like just from that energetic alone, they're going to take you more seriously. And then you say, I don't want to get into it right now, but would you be down to like hop on Zoom or sit down with me like over a cup of coffee, or I'll send you some Uber Eats or something like that. We could just talk. Sure. Okay. That's conversation 1. Then they just sit on it for a little bit like, oh my gosh, I wonder what this conversation is going to be about. And you set up an appointment to have this conversation. Then you sit down and have this conversation with them. You say, God, mom, grandma, I just wanted to share with you. First and foremost, you can feel free to say no because I'm committed to my goals anyway. So I don't want you to feel obligated to help, but I do want to let you know what my goals are and how you can be one of the catalysts towards these goals I'm going to share with you. Now, you don't have to be, but you could be, and I would love for you to be. But these are my goals. List them all off, and you share your goals with passion and conviction and excitement. What are you going to do with 12 grand this summer? Where does that go? Are you donating any? Are you raising capital for starting your first business? Are you paying your education? What are you doing with that money that's meaningful, that they could get inspired by? Then you say, so here's what I want to do, Miss Grandma, Miss Godmom. I wanted to go through your cell phone with you, and you just start at A and go all the way through Z, through every single name in your phone. And I just want us to make a list of every single person that's in your phone that I could introduce myself to. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to, but I just wanted to at least introduce myself to them. And then once we go through your phone, I'd love for us to go through your Facebook and do the exact same thing, that I can message them and just introduce myself to them and send them a message on Facebook. I did this when the virtual demo came out. With my older sister, Deborah. And mind you, I've already been selling Cutco for like 10 years at this point. And I had this exact conversation with my sister, Deborah, and she ended up giving me 22 phone numbers. Now, I've already sold Cutco to a lot of her friends, but she got me 22 new numbers that I never had before. And that's how I was able to sell $6K in the first like week or two that the virtual demo came out, was from my sister's 22 leads. So you might get 100, you might get 22, you might get 10, but here's what I will tell you. You're going to get more than what you have right now. If you're willing to have that conversation with that tone with these women in your life, and you will set yourself up with a very strong foundation, and you will have a raving fan in your corner to help you towards these summer goals. And if you could have this conversation with 5 or 6 of these moms, and even if just one of them become a raving fan, watch what's going to happen to your business this summer. So during the next couple of weeks leading up to the SC1 push, could you have 1 or 2 of these conversations a week? Could you have 1 or 2 of these conversations a week and just build up your queue? Build up your queue, build up your list, build up your list, build up your leads. So that way, boom, Memorial Day weekend hits and you are ready to crush the phones and level up a little bit to push yourself to do those 150, 200 calls during those push weeks, and just leveling up your business. So to wrap up this last 60 seconds, I'm going to give all of you a gift. My people already have this gift, but it's called the Phone Jam Toolbox. And the Phone Jam Toolbox has email confirmation, and it has this document of getting more appointments. It has all the resources that you need. Sticky note for your neighbors, email to your past teachers. It has message for your friends, Facebook approaches, Facebook messages, text to recs, phone objections, how to firm up your appointments. It has everything you need in this document. As far as phone approaches, it has phone approaches of what to say. Your chicken list people, the people you're nervous to call, you just want to sound like someone they want to meet. Next week, we're going to really dig into the tonality and the voice inflections of these approaches. But I'll send you this gift. It's called the Phone Jam Toolbox, and it has everything you need to know in this toolbox. And I'll post it in the chat box now. So that's my time. Right now at this point, if you have any light bulbs, I'd love for you to post your light bulbs in your WhatsApp groups. And you could share your biggest takeaways, biggest light bulb moment. Let me get one light bulb real fast just to capture it from that last segment I just went through. Doral, Spencer from Doral, please.
The thing about sitting down with your parents and just having an honest conversation, I'll be honest, 90% of the sales that I've had in my first, 11, 12 days are all my mom. That's because I just asked her, I said, hey, mom, just go through your entire contact list. So it really does help you, and something I got to do at a higher rate.
You're right. Those are the easiest people. I agree. Thank you, Spencer. So thank you all for your time, your energy. Right now, what I want to do is I want to transition and have you start. When's the best time to start? When is now a good time to start? When is now a good time to start is the question you need to ask yourself. So make 5 calls. This is where it begins. 5 calls, at least. If you want to make more, get momentum. No one's going to stop you. But at least make your 5 phone calls. 5 calls,